I've been awake for about an hour now. It's the 25th of October, I think, Wednesday. Went to bed, went to sleep really late last night. Started downloading the film on iTunes and it takes forever. But so I ended up going to sleep really late. It was about 1:30, and then they come and wake you up about 5:30 to do your observations. So didn't have a huge amount of sleep, but didn't really do a lot yesterday either. Still not particularly happy that they didn't change the bandaging yesterday, because I had fresh bandaging on it the day before, but in the evening it started. I think the blister must have gone in there, the big blister, and I was hoping that they would change the bandaging, put fresh bandaging on yesterday, because I can't see how all that gunk in there can do the actual wound any good. But there again, what do I know? With any luck, there won't be any problems with it. But it was kind of oozing out all day yesterday, and they just said to put more bandaging around it. So the registrar just said, when he was in here, they was saying that they was going to change it, but then when the nurse come back in, he said just to put some bandaging around it, like bump it out, which kind of doesn't really solve any kind of problem apart from soaking up all the crap that keeps coming out of it. Which has made it, I don't know whether it was just hot last night, like where all the bandaging was around it, or whether it was a little bit too tight. I mean, I can get my finger down the side of it where the stitches aren't, so I don't think it's too tight, but I think it just might be quite sensitive at the moment. So I wasn't overly happy with that, so I'll be glad to kind of get the bandaging off and just see that it's all okay this morning, because it was yellow gunk that was coming out as well. So it's a little bit of a worry, I've got to be honest, but hopefully it should be alright when they take the bandaging off, and it would have just been kind of more kind of clear fluid rather than actual gunk, but we'll see. Because then blisters really need to heal up, and I don't need any infections down there, because that will really bugger things up. The phantoms were quite heavy last night, but I think that might be where it's either feeling tight, or because there's a lot more bandaging on there. It's kind of made it a lot more tingly. But I mean, it's still not painful. It's just a heavier kind of sensation. It's just like a current going through it most of last night. Well, while I was away, as I say, I mean, I still slept right the way through, but I only slept through from kind of 1:30 to about 5:30. So it's just not enough sleep really. Probably do some more studying today. Did a bit yesterday morning. But I had quite a few visitors yesterday, which was really nice actually. It was really nice to have quite a few people. My brother came up, my mum and dad, and also Simon from the Tri Club as well. So pretty much all afternoon and most of the evening spent with people and that, visiting. So that was really nice. Saw Patiba, one of the nurses, come on shift for the first time since I've been in, and you kind of forget that you haven't told everyone, and what a shock it is to people still. I mean, I was wheeling down the hallway and it just looked like she'd seen a ghost, to be honest. I mean, she was fine once I spoke to her, and kind of just explained to her kind of that it was the best thing for me, and that it wasn't working again with the leg. But I mean, I try and think kind of how others must feel about it as well, because obviously the nurses have known me for a long time up here, and the doctors and that, so more the nurses than anything, because the doctors tend to be junior doctors. They tend to only spend so long. I think it's 3 months in orthopaedics, surgical. So I tend to see a lot of different doctors, but the nurses, especially on Brunel, seem to be ones that have been here for about 6 years. So yeah, I mean, she was right once I spoke to her, but it's obviously a shock to people when they first know, and especially if the first sign of it that they get is me coming down the hallway in a wheelchair towards them with only one leg, with the stump sticking up in the air where they're getting me to elevate it. Hips are feeling pretty tight at the moment, so I think even though I've got the blisters, I'm just going to have to do something to loosen off the hips today and drop the leg down and stretch out the hip flexors and that, because the quads are really tight as well. I was kind of massaging the leg a little bit last night, and there's a really tight, tight part of it, like a solid lump. I think it's the vastus lataris. So just going to have to do some bits and pieces today, whether they want me to keep the leg up or not, because my hip flexors, and it felt like I've been kicked up the arse last night as well, where the glutes are quite tight. So it's just from sitting with the leg elevated all the time. It's just not a great position to stay in all day. Anyway, there you go, my moan for the morning.